Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 of the beginner's guide to makeup. So this time we are going to focus on eyes and lips. So eyeliner, eyeshadow, eyebrows, and then lips, which pretty much are basically more simple than eyes or anything like that. So I'm going to show you a really simple eye look that's does not take very long to do at all. You can wear it to work, you can wear it out, and then as I continue to make these videos, like an intermediate or and more advanced, I'll add in more shades, more colors, more techniques. But this is just the basics to kind of get your foot in the door of eyeshadow. So since my face is already done from the previous video, if you haven't watched that, that is part 1 of the beginner's guide to makeup. I went into detail about skin, foundation, skincare, how to decide what's best for your own skin, how I apply bronzer, how I apply contour, and how I apply highlight. I go into all of that in my previous video. If you haven't checked it out already, I will link it down below. So without further ado, let's get started on part 2, all about the eyes and lips. Alright, so to get started, for eyeshadow, you are going to need some brushes. Are you going to need, here we go, this many? And these aren't even all of them? No. Like I said in my last video, I have a problem. You do not need that many brushes. I just have a really bad problem with collecting brushes and makeup and all of that such things. So you do not need that many brushes. However, what I would suggest is having a brush, a fluffy one. So something like this fluffy brush, and it is the E27, so it has a nice fluff to it. I don't know how else to describe that. And then I would suggest having another one that's fluffy but more structured, so something like this. This is the Morphe M441 brush. So as you can see, it's a little less fluffy than this one. Or you could also do one that's sort of like this. This is more of a flatter top brush. Yes, they're dirty because I've used them. I probably have maybe like a crap ton of fluffier brushes, but these two are really going to help you. Or two like this, a pretty fluffy one and then a little less fluffy one, to help you get dimension into your eyes. We're just going to do the basics to kind of make your eyes pop. Not have to go out and buy this, although I do recommend it. Any palette you have, what you really want is you want a lighter shade in whatever eye color you're going for today. So I have blue eyes. I tend to stick towards warm shades, browns, things like that. But if you're into the cool tone shades, whatever you're into is what I would use, and whatever you think is most flattering on you and what you're most comfortable with using is obviously what I would suggest for you to use. So I'm going to use this palette today, and what you're going to need is a light shade and then a darker shade. You want a shade to begin with, something like this shade right here, which is called Flower Child. So it's a nice nude color. And then another shade I would do would either be one shade darker than that, which is something like this, or you can do 2 shades darker than that, which is something like this. But you're going to want a lighter shade and then a shade that's 1 or 2 shades darker than the original shade you're using. That way you can create a gradient on your eye and kind of give some dimension and depth into your eye. Another thing that I would suggest is a shimmer shade if you're into that, or a shade that you would want to put all over your lid. Some people like to do really light mattes, which would be something like Charmer in the Tartelette and Bloom palette, or I personally like doing a shimmer shade, so I would probably use Funny Girl, which is a gold shade here, and I will use that today. In total, you really only need about 3 or 4 shades depending on how much dimension you personally want in your own makeup look. to start off, you'd prime your eyes, but I'd already done that with concealer from the previous video. So now I'm going to zoom you guys in so we can go through how to apply the eyeshadow. So now that you guys are super up close and personal to my face, let's start. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take the color Flower Child, which is right here, and this is the lighter shade, and out of the brushes that I spoke to you about previously, we are going to take this one, which is the fluffier brush. So I am just going to dip into the palette, as you can see, and just like with your bronzer or anything face powder, you want to tap off the excess. And then what you want to do, and I'll come in closer so you guys can see, just let it focus. Okay, so you want to start on the outer corner of your eye here. So just very lightly, and you can close your eyes. Sometimes if you have like a mirror, you can look down into your mirror, which would really bring up where you need to place this product. So you're going to do it right in the outer corner, and then you want to bring it in to the crease. In very small circular motions. Very lightly, small, circular, into the crease. Nothing intense. Now you have your first layer. So if you want, and you know, you don't want to do any more dimension, you kind of just want to leave it at that, you can, and you can do a color over your lid. But I'm going to do one more shade just to give some more dimension. So again, same, I haven't done the darker shade yet. I'm just adding a little bit more pigment into that first shade to kind of really give a look here. Okay, so that's where we are now. It's not intense, it's not crazy. It's actually barely even noticeable, which some people like. So you can stop there and add a color onto your lid, or what you can do is take that less fluffy brush and dip into a shade 1 or 2 shades darker than the shade we just used. So I am going to go into Jet Setter, which is 2 shades darker than Flower Child, which I used first. And I'm going to put that brush, that's still fluffy but not as fluffy as the first brush, in there and tap off the excess. And then we're gonna do the same thing. So looking down into a mirror can really help, and you want to start on the outer corner, but you don't want to go as far up your eye with this color. You want to stay right in that crease and in the outer corner. You really don't want to take it as high as you took the other one. You probably should take the lighter shade a little bit higher than your crease. You don't want to do that with this darker shade. You want to keep that right in the outer corner and right in the crease. And again, softly, you don't want to press too hard, and just circular motions are really going to be your friend when applying eyeshadow. So as you can see, it gave us a little bit more depth. I'm just going to keep applying that until I am happy with the way it looks. And then once you have the depth that you want, go back with that first brush that you used and don't put any product on it. I had some excess left over, and just go in between where the first color and the second color were to blend them together. So it's nice and seamless and there's no harsh lines. So then you'll have something like this, which is very minimalistic and pretty, which is great because you do not need anything intense if this is just an everyday type of look. And it's not coming up as intense on camera as I would like it to, but it looks really pretty. I'm just gonna quickly, you may or may not get fallout with whatever palette you're using, so sometimes you can just put loose powder underneath your eyes to catch the fallout. That way you can wipe it away later. That's a really handy trick. Some people do their eyes before their foundation. Sometimes I do that if I'm doing a really intense eye. So then that's what the shadow looks like. Very simple, nothing crazy, but it gives some dimension and kind of makes your eyes pop a little bit. So then what you can also do is, now this, you don't necessarily need an extra brush, but if you have one, great. If you don't, you can use your finger. Sometimes if you want to use a shiny shimmer shade on your lid, using your finger is actually a good application. I'm just going to take a flat brush. This, I don't even know the name is written off of this, but this is just a flat makeup brush, and I'm going to dip into, whoops, I'm going to dip into Funny Girl right here, which is a nice gold shade, and I'm just going to apply that to my lid. And you can do, this technique will work with any colors. You just have to find out what colors you want to use, what color combinations, what would look best with your outfit or your mood or your eye color, anything of the sorts. And then I'm just going to intensify it. I'm going to take my finger and just put some in the middle of my eyelid. That really gives a little more dimension to the eye. If you put like a shimmer shade and with more intensity in the middle. And then what I like to do just to make everything blend is I'll take that first brush that we use, the fluffy brush, the really fluffy one, and just quickly swipe over everything in the crease a little bit, just to blend everything together. So that's really a simple way to get a nice neutral eye look, and you can, I'm going to show you how you can make it pop even more with some eyeliner. Now I'm not going to do winged eyeliner or anything like that. That is something that we can get into later, because winged liner takes a lot of practice. You're not going to get it perfect on the first try. I don't even get it perfect on the first try still. It takes me a few tries. So let's move into eyeliner. My favorite thing to do is to take a kohl liner. So this is the this is a gel liner actually, but it's in a pencil form, and it's the No Tug waterproof gel eyeliner from IT Cosmetics, and I like it because it doesn't tug on my eyes. So this I'm just going to tight line in my waterline with to kind of just bring a little more intensity into my eyes. You don't want to pull on your skin or anything. So actually, I find that if you look down into a mirror, you can get up in your waterline without pulling. So do you see how this eye has a little bit more intensity where the lashes are and this eye doesn't? That's the difference that putting just a liner up in your waterline can do. And it really, like, and from this, like, we'll do the other side. I don't normally do the bottom, but let's do the other side just so we match. See how that kind of brings your eyes, it brings a little more attention to the eyes, that small little detail of just putting some liner, black liner or brown liner. Sometimes you can do too if you have blue eyes or green. Will really bring attention to the eyes and give a little bit of a more bold statement. So from here, if you want, you could add mascara and call it a day. In terms of the eyes, you don't have to do anything else, but sometimes people want a little bit more of a thicker line on the top of their lid. So what I would suggest for that is, I love liquid liners in a pen form, like this one right here. This is the Kat Von D tattoo liner, and it's one of my favorites. So the way that you can do this is, again, I get really close. I don't know why this helps, but I just very lightly go right up against the lash line and just bring it over in small strokes. And that just gives it a little bit more of a definition if that's what you're looking for. If you don't have to do this top liner, and if you didn't want to, I would at least suggest lining the waterline. If you are going to do this, I would always suggest lining the waterline, because you don't want there to be like any gaps. So let's just do this to the other side. So again, okay, so see how like the difference that made? It brought a little bit more, again, intensity. Every step brings a little more intensity into the eyes. So from here, I would apply mascara. Sometimes if I really want to make my eyes look bigger, I'll put a nude liner on the bottom waterline and just a little mascara on the outsides. So as far as the eyeliner, I know Kat Von D is cruelty free, and I believe she's vegan as well. I don't think It Cosmetics is cruelty free. That's something I can definitely look into, but I don't think they're cruelty free. So then the mascara that I'm using is the Tarte Maneater. This I got on sale for $10. Ulta Beauty was running a special or something, and I actually really like it. So my trick with this, especially if you're not into false lashes can be hard, and it took me a while to get used to doing them as well. But with this, with your mascara, to lengthen your lashes, my little trick is I look down into a mirror and I get the wand right up against the lash bed and I move it back and forth, and I slowly blink as I'm moving it back and forth. So the pressure the blink makes against you pushing against the lashes with the wand really elongates them, and moving it back and forth like this, the wand really helps deposit product and help lengthening your lashes. And it also helps to go back in a few times, 1 or 2 times, maybe 3 coats if you're more of like the clumpy lash type of person. And when you go back in to get more product, don't do this, because that's gonna put air in your mascara and it's gonna dry it out way quicker than it should. When you put it back in, swirl it around like that to get the product and then bring it out. You don't wanna go in and out, because that'll bring air into the tube, and you definitely don't want that. So again, just applying another coat. See? And then I'll just, whatever's left over from when I did on my top lashes, I will just do on the outer corner lashes on the bottom. I don't always like to take it all the way in. I feel like this opens the eye a little bit. So I am just going to do this again on the other side. So these are both of the eyes done. So literally nothing crazy. It took not that long. You need 2-3 brushes max, and some mascara and some eyeliner if you really want to make your eyes pop. Another thing you can do is whatever, if you use a shimmer shade, or even if you used a matte shade, whatever shade you used on your lid, so whatever shade you put on your lid, you can also put on the inner corner of your eye, just to open up and brighten the eye a little bit. So I'm just gonna go in with that Funny Girl shade, take it on my pinky. As you can see, there it is, nice and pretty. And I'm literally just gonna pop it right there. Nothing intense, nothing crazy. And that really kind of just gives a little pop of color to the eyes. So the next thing you want to do to kind of make your eyes complete would be eyebrow. I know eyebrows can be a difficult step for some people. They can be a little intimidating, and that's totally fine. They are meant to be twin. They're not meant to be twins. They're meant to be cousins, okay? As you can see, these are my natural eyebrows. This one obviously is better than this one. When I was younger, I was hit with a boogie board, and I have a scar that kind of cuts my eyebrow in half there. So it's just something I live with. So what I like to do, and a little trick that I have found, is I like to use brow gel. So this is the Tinted Brow Gel by Anastasia, and it's the auburn color because my hair is an auburn red. Now, NYX has these. I know L'Oreal and Maybelline and CoverGirl, everyone's coming out with their own versions of the brow gel, or a tinted brow gel, which I think is great. So you don't have to use a name brand or anything like that. You can use whatever you like. My eyebrows are a little on like the ashier brown side because that is my normal hair color. So to match it to my hair, I got the auburn. And what I do with this, and there's a spoolie, and you can see the spoolie has two different ends here. So I take this end that's pointing to the bottom, so the one right here, because it's a little more, oh, are you gonna focus? Okay. It's a little, it's not as intense. This is the best way I can describe it. And what I'm gonna do is I am just going to run this lightly, I'm not pressing hard, through my brow hairs to give them some dimension and some color. And I'm kind of going to groom my brow hairs where I want them to go. And then with whatever's left over, I will put that on the front of my eyebrow. So like I said, this eyebrow is so much easier for me to do than my other eyebrow, but I will show you guys what I do. So there is that. Gives it a little bit of dimension, nothing insane. So I'm gonna go do the same thing with the other one. The other one takes a little bit more finesse. And sometimes if you're someone who has thick brows, this is all you need to do. You don't need to do anything else, because this, look what this did. It kind of groomed my brow and gave me a decent shape. And if that's how I wanted to keep it, then maybe that's how I wanna go about my day. I don't need to do anything else. But I am gonna show you how I fill in my brows with a pencil. So the same thing, I'm taking the spoolie and very lightly kind of just going through my brow hair to kind of make the hair go where I want it to go and give some dimension to my brows. And this is my lazy girl frugal, like not frugal, but my lazy everyday brow. And I've honestly have been loving a more natural brow than that Instagram carved out one. So as you can see, I could totally just go about my day like this. I wouldn't have to do anything else. And you can tell that brow gel kind of filled in a little bit, not completely, but that area that I have on my brow that's cut in half because I have a scar. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brow pencil, and this is the Anastasia Brow Wiz. I use it in soft brown, however I also use chocolate and taupe. It depends on kind of what brow look I'm feeling that day. I do use the 21 Days of Beauty at Ulta, which they are starting that this month on the 18th. The 31st of March, I believe, the entire Mario Badescu line and the Anastasia Brow Wiz are half off. So if you wanted to try any of the products I mentioned in the first video for skincare, or if you wanted to look into Mario Badescu, I would highly suggest using the 21 Days of Beauty to your advantage, since everything would be half off. And I always stock up on my Brow Wiz during the 21 Days of Beauty, so I will probably stock up on some more soft brown ones, because this is the last one I have. So what I do now that I filled it in with that brow gel, which filled in most of the gaps, I'm just going to go and fill in the gaps that the brow gel missed. So like, for example, and I'll come a little closer so you guys can see. I also haven't gotten my brows done in forever. I've been doing them myself. So if they look a little messy, that's probably why. So up here, you can tell it didn't fully fill in where my scar was. And there's a little bit, oops, and there's a little bit right there. And then I'm just filling in very lightly, I'm not pressing hard, the gaps in my eyebrow to kind of just make this a more fuller brow. And I always want to give myself some type of arch on this side. And then I always blend it out with the spoolie because you don't want it to be too harsh. And then I just make sure that I'm getting under here to give some structure. Again, very lightly going with the hair, not against it. And when I get to the front, I kind of do that. And then I just take the spoolie and I'll blend again with the hair, not against it. And then I just brush the hair into place. And that kind of just gives your brow a more full look. And if you mess up, or you know, if you have something outside, or you want to make it a little more structured, you can go in and clean up with concealer. But a lot of the time, if you're doing it really lightly, and take your time with this, when you're getting ready, I feel like the brows probably should be one of the things that you just slow down and take your time on, if you even have time in the morning. If you're someone who wants to do your brows, it's all up to you. So then I just, you know, keep brushing my brow hairs, making sure they all go into the place where I want them to. So, look at that. Simple, easy, took a few minutes. Yes, I'm used to doing this because I do it every day, but still, that little bit of tinted brow gel to fill in most of the holes and then just going and cleaning up with this pencil has been such a lifesaver for me. And that's really what I've been doing even when I go out. So like, see, I'll zoom you in, I'll come in closer for this too. So you can see here how I have a little bit of a gap. So I'm just gonna very lightly fill in that gap. See? Fill in that gap, and looking down always helps too. Very lightly doing the same thing. Filling in these gaps up here. I'm doing very soft strokes to mimic brow hair so it doesn't look too fake. I mean, I'm not trying to hide the fact that I'm wearing makeup. I don't care that I wear makeup. I enjoy it. I like it. It makes me feel good. But I don't want to look like insane. And since we're so close up, you guys can see my pimples. And as far, I told you guys I was going to do a wear test with that concealer. So it's not awful. I mean, it's not my favorite. I have had the face makeup on for about an hour before I actually filmed this part of the series. So as you can see, guys, that's literally all it takes for some brows. And if you have brows that are very thick, if you're lucky to have thick brows, all you really need maybe is a brow gel, maybe not even tinted brow gel, maybe just a clear brow gel. And I again would recommend the Anastasia one because it literally will keep your brow hairs where that you want them to go, and it does not move. As far as brow pencils, I will stand by the Brow Wiz. It's my favorite, but I have tried the NYX ones and they're good too. Anastasia is cruelty free, which is great. Another thing to make your eyes pop, and this is the last step that I will do in terms of this eye look, is I will take that same shade that I used on my lid and on my inner corner, and I'll take a little bit on my pinky again, and I'm just going to put it right underneath my brow bone. So it just gives it that little bit of shimmer, little bit of pop. That is the completed eyes. Literally something very simple, nothing intense, but it's very pretty, very feminine, and you can do this with any color combination. As long as you have the technique down, it doesn't matter what colors you use. And it takes practice. Doing eye makeup or doing makeup in general is not, you're not going to get perfect overnight. I'm not perfect yet. There are a lot of things I can improve on, and it took me a while, but honestly, you just have to let it all come together, because it will. When you think it might not look good, I promise you, if you just keep going at it and take a deep breath, it'll be fine. So this is something very simple that you can use for products in your home. As far as the eyeshadow, sometimes I'll use bronzer. If I'm going for browns, I'll use bronzer, and I have a contour shade like before, so I'll use the bronzer as the lighter shade, the contour shade as the darker shade, to make it have a little more dimension, and then I'll use my highlighter as a lid color and to highlight my inner corner and my brow bone. So if you want to go for a more golden bronzy look, you don't even have to use eyeshadow. You can use the face products that we used in the first video. So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy all this stuff. It's very minimal brushes. I use 3 brushes. You only need to use 2. Like earlier how I said to have a powder or brush for your face powder and then a brush for your bronzer, I do recommend having 2 crease brushes, 2 fluffy brushes, one for the light color and one for the dark color. That way you can blend them seamlessly and you don't have to worry about blending out a light color and accidentally having a dark color on there and messing up the whole eye makeup, because that's just not fun. I'm going to zoom you guys back out so we can move on to lips, which really won't take that long at all. This is kind of how everything is looking with the eyes. So normally I don't do a lip color every day. My lips, I actually are my least favorite feature on my face. They are extremely uneven. I don't like them at all. So I tend to not really do much with my lips. Usually I'll just throw chapstick on and call it a day. But when I kind of want to spice it up a little bit, sometimes what I'll do is I will do a lip liner, so like a nude lip liner, and then I'll just put a gloss on top, and that kind of gives me a little bit of a pop. Other times I will do a full lipstick. I tend to like matte lipsticks, but now that my lips are chapped, I'm kind of into the more creamier. So I'm just going to do a simple nude lip for you guys. I tend to do nudes or reds, but really whatever you feel would be more appropriate for you. So the color I'm using is More Creamer Please by Dose of Colors. This is the Desi Perkins and Katie collection. Dose of Colors, as far as I know, is cruelty-free. And for lip pencil, I am going to be using MAC Oak lip pencil. I always put some type of like lip primer or a non-greasy chapstick just to help with hydration. But since I'm not using a matte lipstick, if you're using a matte lipstick or a liquid lip, I would definitely suggest putting chapstick on, because otherwise your lips are going to feel so dry. So I am just going to outline. So I outline my lips, but I also fill them in with the lip liner. And I am not good at overdrawing or anything like that. I think one of the reasons why I hate my lips so much is because I'm really bad at applying like lip liner and stuff. So hey, I said there was stuff I needed to work on, you know. So now I'm gonna take the lipstick and really just in the center. I just apply it in the center of my lips, and then what I'll do is I'll take my finger and kind of blend it around and blend it into that lip liner. Sometimes I'll go back over with the liner just to give it a little more dimension. So that is how I started doing eyeshadow, how I started with my brows. I found something, when I first started with my brows, it was absolutely horrendous. Like if you go back to my first eyebrow tutorial, it's awful. So I really like the idea of using a brow gel to kind of fill in most of your brows, and it's very effortless with the brow gel as long as you're doing it very lightly, and then just going in and filling the excess spots in your brow with a brow pencil. Some people like using pomade if you want something a little more intense, which I will do if I'm doing a more full glam type of look. But really this is kind of what I started out doing for the most part. I didn't do anything crazy. I used 3 shades at the most. Sometimes I wouldn't even use eyeshadow palettes. I would just use my face powders that I had, and it really is, it just takes practice, it takes time, and it takes patience. But I promise you, you will be able to do your own makeup like a pro. You will start to realize the different curves and contours in your face, what looks best, what application would be best, what foundation would be best for your skin. It's a lot of trial and error when it comes to makeup, but I do hope this video was helpful for you guys to kind of give you a quick glam, like not glam, but a quick easy makeup tutorial to let you look put together if you wanted to go out for dinner with your friends, or if you had to go to work, or if you wanted something just quick to do. I really hope that this video helped. I do look forward to making more in-depth how-to videos. We'll get into more like winged liner and more structured contour, baking, things like that. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I've said 500 times, I'm so happy to be back and filming. I can't wait until Matt and I buy a house and I have my own filming space, because right now I'm a little crammed in my room at my parents' house. I'm ready to move out. I'm sure my parents are ready for me to move out and start my own life. So I am so looking forward to the future. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know, and I will catch you guys in the next video.